How do you calculate annual holding cost, annual ordering cost? These two of them. We need to know how to calculate each of that. Looks very straightforward, but let's not take it for granted. I'm going to break it down for you. Annual ordering cost is simply the number of orders multiplied by let me call it cost per order so that is clear. I like to use very simple words. Yeah, cost to place one order, which is what I'm calling OC here. So number of orders in a year multiplied by cost to place one order in a year. And number of orders is pretty easy. If you are not given, mostly you will not even be given, because you're expected to just do a simple calculation of that. The number of orders will be your annual demand. Annual demand is the total inventory you need in a year, yeah, divided by your order quantity. And I think that makes good sense, because take for instance, if you need 5,000 in a year as your annual demand, and say you use EOQ and your quantity is 500, so which means every time you want to place order, you can only place 500. That means your number of orders will be equals to the 5,000 you need in a year divided by the 500 you place order for in a particular order. And that means for that year you have to order 10 times for you to achieve 5,000 you need in a year. So that's how you get your number of orders. Yeah. For annual holding cost, so what we've done is for the ordering cost. Now let's look at annual holding cost. That is a bit tricky, so pay attention. So that is number one, the holding cost per unit, yeah, per unit in a year, yeah, multiplied by your average inventory. And I'm sure I can predict the next question in your mind. How do you calculate the average inventory? Average inventory is very simple. It's just your opening plus your closing inventory divided by 2. And your opening is usually your ordering quantity. Please take note. Same thing as your order quantity. Closing is what you close with, yeah, which is either 0 or your buffer, which is called your minimum. It's also called minimum inventory level. Yeah, most times MA, they try not to include buffer inventory so that it's easy for you. Then you just mean closing is 0 and your average inventory will be order quantity divided by 2. Yeah, but sometimes if they want to be tricky, they will introduce minimum inventory or buffer inventory for you. And I don't want you to struggle if that comes up. You still need to deal with it accordingly. So that's how to calculate the average inventory. And if you have that, you multiply by the holding cost per unit, then you have your annual holding cost. So by the time you have annual holding cost, annual ordering cost, and the purchase price for all the annual demand, then you have your total inventory cost. So your total inventory cost, yeah, your total inventory cost will now be the addition of your total annual purchase cost, yeah, plus annual ordering cost plus annual holding cost. All of these added together will give you your total inventory cost. And ladies and gentlemen, This is what you are trying to minimize. Every time you say you are managing inventory, this is the cost you are trying to minimize. Those three components. So now you know how to do it. Is it that you are using EOQ, or you are using a bulk purchase discount, or you are using your just in time? Now let's go a bit into calculation. How do we calculate EOQ? EOQ has a popular formula, which is square root of your 2 multiplied by annual demand multiplied by the cost per order divided by the holding cost per unit. Simple. That is all you need to do for EOQ, right? And for bulk purchase discount, what this is just saying is that some of these vendors, they like to give discounts to encourage people to buy a lot from them. Take for instance, you can have a vendor that says, if you buy anything from 1 to 1,000 units, I will sell at $3 per unit. But if you can try and buy above 1,000 units, I'll sell at 2.5 per unit. So which means if you can buy more than 1,000, you get a discount of $0.5 per unit. That's a lot. That is even more than 10% discount they are being given. So another vendor can say, if you buy even more than 50,000 units, I will sell to you at $2 per unit. So you see that what is going on here is that for purchase discount method, for sure, if you look at those three costs, that component that we are talking about, these three, the purchase cost, the ordering cost, and the holding cost. You see that for bulk purchase discount, this will come down because we are getting discounts on the price. Likewise, ordering costs will come down because we're going to order in less number of times. We won't be ordering as frequent as we used to because we are buying in bulk. We are buying so much, so we have so much in our warehouse. We don't need to place order frequently. So, which means our ordering activities will slow down and the cost will reduce. But ladies and gentlemen, what do you expect with the holding cost? It's going to go above the roof because we will always need a bigger warehouse to store the items we have bought in a big chunk, right? So this is the direction, and you need to understand it because it can also be tested in the exams theoretically, apart from even doing the calculation. But I'm going to show you how to do the calculation as well. In fact, I have a question that I would like us to deal with, and let me call up the question. So we'll solve the question on EOQ and bulk purchase discount. So let's look at a very good question. As a practice, it's pretty good. I believe that question will help you to summarize some of this concept. Right. Go on EOQ question here. Very good. So look at this question on my left side, which I like a lot for EOQ. A business uses EOQ model. Each unit costs $2 to purchase, and the cost of owning one unit for 1 year is 10% of the purchase price. So which means our holding cost for 1 unit is 10% of 2, and that is equal to 0.2. So we can note that down already. Holding cost is equal to 10% multiplied by $2. That is equal to $0.2. So we know our holding cost per unit. The cost of placing each order is $125. So we know that our ordering cost is also $125. That is ordering cost for one order. And annual demand is $14,450. So we know that our annual demand, which is D, is $14,450 units. So that is the total unit we need in a year. Very good. And we know that the price, which is purchase price, is $2 per unit. That has been given to us at the early stage here. So we have all of that. Now, the supplier is now offering a discount of 0.1. So there's a potential discount of 0.1 per unit when what? There's a condition attached to it. If the order quantity is 6,000 units, you can see. So the condition is order quantity must be equals to or greater than 6,000 units for you to get that benefit. Now we're asked to calculate the annual purchase, the annual purchase price, the annual holding cost, the annual ordering cost. And finally, we need to advise if they should use EOQ or bulk purchase discount model. That is what we want to achieve. Very good question. Now we've identified all the data. Now let's look at EOQ first. What is the total inventory cost for under EOQ? Because that's the only way we can advise. We need to calculate the total inventory cost under EOQ model and calculate the total inventory cost under bulk purchase model. Then the cheaper will be the best advice we'll give the company. But that's the end goal. Before we can get that, we need to be able to calculate the component of our cost. So the first thing is we need to calculate EOQ, which is the quantity we'll be ordering if we are using the EOQ model they have said the company is using. So what is the formula for EOQ? That is square root of 2D OC over HC. Yeah, that is a formula. So which, if we put everything together now, that's 2 multiplied by 14,450, the annual demand we've been given, multiplied by 125, which is the ordering cost for one order, divided by 0.2, which is our holding cost per unit that we have calculated. If you do all of that, we're going to have economic order quantity as 4,250 units. So now we know our EOQ. Yeah, we know the EOQ quantity, and bulk purchase discount quantity is given as well. It has to be 6,000. So we know those quantity because we need this quantity before we can calculate the relevant cost associated with those inventory. Now let's calculate the cost for EOQ first, then we'll go to talk about the cost for the bulk purchase discount. So for EOQ, remember we're talking about 3 types of cost: the purchase price, which is the purchase cost, talk about the annual ordering cost and the annual holding cost. Then we'll get the total. Okay, trust you're following. So let's do the first one first, which is the purchase cost. The price of each product is $2, we've been told, and we need 14,450 in a year. So that's 2 multiplied by 14,450. So that equals to 2 multiplied by 14,450, because it's $2 per unit and we need 14,450 every year. So the annual purchase price, yeah, the annual purchase cost will be equals to 28,900. So I'm going to plug that in here, 28,900. Now let's do the next one, which is the annual OC. And remember, that equals to the ordering cost for each order multiplied by the total number of orders we need to make in a year. So which means we're going to do 125 per order as what we incur, and the number of orders will be annual demand divided by the quantity we order every time. So that's multiplied by annual demand is 14,450. Yeah, then every time we order at EOQ, we order 4,250. And that gives us a total ordering cost of $425. I remember, like I said, under EOQ, your annual holding cost is always the same thing as annual ordering cost. So I can as well just put my 425 here as well, because I know that's well. But let's calculate it so that you can see it yourself. It's always the same. Right. Remember, for annual holding cost, that is equals to your holding cost per unit multiplied by average inventory, which is opening plus closing inventory divided by 2. But here they didn't give us buffer, they didn't give us minimum inventory, so which means closing inventory is 0, then the opening will always be the order quantity, and under EOQ that will be the order quantity will be 4,250, so divided by 2, and if you calculate that, that will give you $425. You can see the same as this. Yeah, and if you add everything together our total cost associated with managing inventory using the EOQ approach, that will give us $29,750. Now, we know our annual purchase, annual holding, and ordering under EOQ. We need to do the same thing using another model called bulk purchase discount. Let's see how this will compare with EOQ. The same approach, we get the total purchase price, we get the annual holding cost and annual ordering cost. So purchase price first, they are giving us discount, remember, of 0.1 when we buy 6,000 units. So which means the total price will no more be $2 here, but there will be a discount of $1. So that will be $1.9 multiplied by the 14,450 we need in a year, because we still need the annual demand of 14,450, whether we use EOQ or bulk discount or whatever. We'll see the 14,450. So that will be 14,450 here. Sorry, I need to multiply that by 1.9 first. Moving too fast. So 1.9 multiplied by 14,450 will give us 27,455. So you can see 27,455. And if you check with EOQ, you can see that it's cheaper. EOQ is 28,900. This one is 27,455. But we can't conclude yet. We need to check the other component of the cost. What happens to the ordering cost? Annual ordering cost, we expect it to reduce because we're going to order less time. So, but let's calculate it. The cost is 125 per order. Number of orders will now be 14,450 multiplied by 6,000, because that's what we order every time under this bulk purchase discount method, and that will give us $301. And you can see this is lower than the 425 under EOQ. So this is really looking good, right? So 301, this is, which is in line with what we said earlier on about bulk purchase discount method. Yeah, you can see said under bulk purchase discount, the purchase price will come down, the ordering cost will come down, but we expect HC to go up. So let's check whether our annual holding costs will go up compared to HC. The formula is HC per unit, which is 0.2, multiplied by average inventory. And this time around, the average inventory is opening plus closing divided by 2. Like I said, closing is 0 because there's no buffer inventory, there's no minimum inventory. So closing will always be 0, and the opening will always be the order quantity, which is just 6,000 under purchase discount divided by 2. And that will give us 600. Ladies and gentlemen, you can see the annual holding cost has increased compared to the 425 under EOQ. So that's why we need to add everything together and see the final impact, which one is better. So we add all of this together. We have 6 here, we have 5 here, we have 3 here, then 28. So the total inventory cost under bulk purchase discount is 28,356, and this is much cheaper than what you have under EOQ. That is 29,750. So you've seen how to calculate each of these cost components, and we can advise the company to use bulk purchase discount because that gives the cheapest cost of inventory. In fact, it's cheaper by almost 1,300 and something. So that is it with this question. And remember, I always tell you, always ask yourself why and why and why. It's very important in whatever you do. It makes you to have a good understanding. And in the next series, again, I'm going to go into how we manage quantity. Now we've learned how to manage the cost. Remember, inventory management, yes, here. It's about managing cost and also managing the quantity. So we are done managing cost. We need to manage quantity. When we know how to manage quantity, then we know that we are done with inventory management, then we'll go to valuation. But now we'll move into how do we manage inventory cost. So that is the next thing we want to look at.